President Donald Trump's latest remarks have sparked a fresh furor between the Bharatiya Janata Party and Congress. This after Trump questioned the $21 million USAID funding for voter turnout, calling it a kickback scheme. Not only has BJP now accused Congress party of using foreign support to influence elections, but also labelled the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi as a tool for foreign agencies. The BJP was prompt to link Trump's comments to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's 2023 remarks in London about global concerns over Indian democracy and how NGOs connected with the grand old party were using foreign funds to influence the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Earlier too, the BJP has claimed that in 2012, under the leadership of S.Y. Qureshi, the Election Commission of India had signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, or the IFES, which they claim is linked to investor George Soros's Open Society Foundations, primarily funded by USAID. Qureshi, of course, has rejected these claims. The Congress party, on the other hand, has been demanding a white paper. They have accused the BJP of hypocrisy, accusing the Prime Minister of maintaining a smiling face when the US President threatened reciprocal tariffs and threatened to also end the BRICS during Prime Minister's recent visit to the White House. But the big burning question raised by the US President remains: why is the US concerned about voter turnout in India? In a renewed attack on foreign aid programs, US President Donald Trump has once again hit out at the now cancelled $21 million fund for voter turnout in India. He's of course called it a kickback scheme. I must also tell you that this is the third time that the US President has referred to this amount of $21 million. But now news reports have also fact-checked Donald Trump. The question that arises: was this a case of interference in foreign election, or was there a misinterpretation of the facts? Let's take you through the facts we've gathered so far. Donald Trump has claimed that the $21 million USAID grant was sanctioned for India to influence the country's electoral process. However, the news report that has surfaced today contradicts Donald Trump's statement, revealing that $21 million USAID fund was actually sanctioned in 2022, not for India, but for Bangladesh. Donald Trump further has asserted that the USAID grant was intended to increase the voter turnout in India. On the other hand, the news report has countered the US President's claim, stating that no USAID funding has been directly linked to elections in India since the year 2008. Trump also added that the USAID funds was intended to influence political outcomes in India, implying that the funding was part of an effort to get somebody elected. Contradicting Trump's allegations, the news report says that the record shows $13 million out of $21 million USAID grant was already spent in Bangladesh. The face-off now between BJP and Congress has also escalated over the USAID grant after the news report claimed that the funds were allocated to Bangladesh, not India, as was initially suggested by the BJP. Look at what the Congress is saying. It's launched a scathing attack at the BJP, accusing the Saffron Party of distorting facts, alleging the funding was clearly allocated to Bangladesh in support of voter turnout initiatives, not India. The BJP has refuted that claim, saying that the Congress's accusations, stating that there is a clear distinction between the $21 million allocated for India and the separate $29 million that were granted to Bangladesh, both referred to by the US President and DOJ. Congress alleges the initial misrepresentation of the funding source originated in Washington, and BJP is amplifying the US claims. In response, the BJP has firmly rejected Congress's accusations, saying that the $21 million USAID grant was indeed allocated for India and the $29 million grant was for Bangladesh. Congress has accused the Bharatiya Janata Party of spreading false information about USAID grant, claiming that the party's initial statements have now been exposed. In retaliation, the Bharatiya Janata Party has dismissed the claims made by Congress, accusing the news report of echoing a certain political narrative that's being put forward by the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, as it is parroting Rahul's line of argument and does not present an objective view of the situation. So as the USAID storm continues to snowball, let's also take you through some of the key questions that this entire controversy has raised so far. Why is the CEPPS website now inaccessible? Remember, if it was operating, one could have still had a look at the filings, the annual filings of the funding. What are the annual filings of the CEPPS as their website is now defunct? That's the second question. And how transparent is USAID's disbursement process? Will the Indian government ever be able to track this entire funding? And how USAID ensures that their funding is not being misused? How is it allocating that funding? That's another key question that stands as of now. So as this USAID storm snowballs, is it interference or misinterpretation? That's a key question we'll be posing to our guests in just a bit. Stay tuned.
And $21 million for voter turnout in India. Why are we caring about India turnout? Because nobody has any idea what's going on.
We don't know where those funds have gone. We don't know where those funds came from. अगर आपको संशय है तो चलिए 70 साल का आप पूरा श्वेत पत्र निकालिए।
पूरा देश जान गया है कि राहुल गांधी गद्दार हैं। मोदी जी से नफरत करते करते वो कोई भी ऐसी गतिविधियों में लिप्त पाए जा सकते हैं, चाहे वो देश विरोधी क्यों ना हो, अगर मोदी जी को नुकसान हो और भारत को।
All right, let me introduce our esteemed panelists today. I'm joined in by Charu Pragya, who's a spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, Arshpreet Kadial, who's a spokesperson for the Congress Party, Ayush Nambiar, who's a political analyst, and Avish Singhvi, who's an advocate at the Supreme Court. Many thanks to you, Charu, and the gentlemen for joining in. Charu, I think the key allegation also coming in from the Congress Party today is that if there was an election interference being targeted by the United States, and if there was a memorandum of understanding signed under the UPA era in the year 2012, then it was the BJP which won the elections in 2014. Then why point fingers towards the Congress Party?
Akanksha, good evening. This issue has been complicated needlessly, and I want to break it down to explain a few things. One, let's understand, UPA received 204 million. That's the amount of money UPA government received. NDA got 1.5 million. Look at the difference right there. So who has managed to keep foreign interference at bay? It's obviously the NDA. Now, let's come one step down. When this kind of money is being given to the government of India for developmental projects, at the same time, independent NGOs are getting funded. And you know how much funding these independent NGOs got while the government of India, when NDA was in power, got a mere 1.5 million? They got 2,579 million US dollars. So look at that number. 2,500 plus thousand US dollars were given to independent NGOs in India. They could have been advocacy groups, they could have been individuals, or they could have been, different NGOs. And all of this data we have. Another thing to notice here is that this kind of funding has spiked at the time when political activity has been at a high in India. And I will give you examples. It spiked during the farmers' protest. It spiked during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. All of these things come together and point at one thing. This money was being given to people who were funding anti-India activities. Now, I'm going to quote some of the things Rahul Gandhi has said, and he says it with a lot of brazenness, a lot of shamelessness. Once he said that he's not fighting against just the BJP or the RSS, he is fighting against the state of India itself. Imagine a statement like that coming from the leader of opposition of the Indian Parliament. government. It is beyond terrible. And did we hear a peep of apology? No, it was not a mistake. He said it and he meant it. I'll give you another example. Recently, when he was in London, he appealed to Europe and to America and said, what are you doing? Why are you not coming and interfering in democracy in India? Inviting them to come and interfere in democracy in India, because him and his party have been on a spate of losses. So all of this adds up and shows that the protests that have been going on in India, the narrative building in a terrible and a negative way, which has been anti-India internationally, has been going on here. Even during COVID, there has been a series of articles, conversations which tried to show India in a bad light. And who was the one who was the force behind all of this? The very man who goes crying around everywhere कि संविधान खतरे में है. और संविधान को खतरे में डाला किसने? आपने. हर बार विदेश में जाकर वहां से हेल्प मांगकर, वहां से पैसे मांगकर, यहाँ पर गलत चीजों के लिए उस पैसे को इस्तेमाल करने के लिए. So everybody is currently discussing 21 million, which comes to 180 crores. Let me say this. Do you know the amount of money which is not being discussed and which has been given to various NGOs in India only in the last 10 years of NDA Sarkar? 22,000 crore. 22,000 crore. We need to know where this money has gone. We need to know where this money has been used and what it has been used for.
Charu, then by that logic, I think the government at par is going to do that answering in terms of investigating where that funding has now arrived. I'm sure even if it was, say, for social protection or human rights, or to increase democratic participation, where's the money?
Yeah. So last thing. Let me say this last thing. You know that over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion about FCRA licenses being cancelled in India to various NGOs. So lots of NGOs have gone around complaining and crying because their FCRA licenses are getting cancelled. And these are big NGOs, international NGOs. There were some local NGOs. All of them have said this for one reason, because the source of their funding was dirty and unclean. Government of India has taken a stand against it and plugged it, and whatever loopholes still might remain and whatever funding is coming into India to fund all these anti-India activities will be plugged in further.
Okay, I'm sure Arshpreet would like to now come in, step in, Arshpreet, because I think the biggest allegation, and I'll say it's almost an insult when Rahul Gandhi, who's the leader of opposition, is being labelled as a tool for foreign agencies.
Well, I was hoping that the Bharatiya Janata Party today would start with an apology, because they have misled the nation. They have lied to the people of India. And they should take responsibility for that. A case should be registered against all the senior leaders who lied. Number two, they have concocted this story for a reason. There's an agenda behind it, which is to divert attention. Divert attention from their failure to protect the citizens of India, to protect their human rights when they were being chained, they were being handcuffed, their human rights were being violated, and they were being put in a military plane which landed on Indian soil. They wanted to divert attention from that. Number three, Indian Express is not a political party. It's very, very credible. And when the report says that the funds did not come to India, it went to Bangladesh, what does the Bharatiya Janata Party have to say to that?
No, you don't question Bharatiya Janata Party. Are you questioning the US President?
That's been retracted.
Arshpreet, it is what
that's
the US President has said.
Arshpreet, by the way, you're a little behind on the news. Arshpreet is behind on the news, Akansha. That news has been retracted. That news has been retracted.
Charu, my name is Arshpreet. Your name is
No,
Charu.
I'm least
Would you
interested in
wait-
that.
would you wait for it?
But that news has been retracted.
I don't want to politicize that information.
Exists.
Okay, Charu, let
See,
me have a word over here. I don't want to politicize that information. That information is in itself being negated at the moment. The US President has quoted the figures that it was not $21 million for Bangladesh, it was for India.
It's on the DOJ
and
website.
It's very much there on DOJ. And we are
looking
at the amount of $29 million which had been allocated specifically to Bangladesh.
see,
Out of
And
which an amount has already
Indian
been
Express has
dispersed.
retracted that
Let's
article.
hear what
The
Arshpreet has
matter
to say.
is- Now, see, the only request is the Bharatiya Janata Party we know is bewildered, but do not interrupt me. You have had your time, you have your time again, so hear me patiently. Number one, Donald Trump has made a statement. The Bharatiya Janata Party has issued exactly same statement. We know the Howdy Modi event. We know the Namaste Trump event that happened in Ahmedabad. We know Mr. Modi says Donald Trump mere dost hai. We know all of that. But the fact of the matter is that where is the evidence that there's none? Number two, you have been contradicted by a very, very credible media outlet, a paper. Number three, I want to ask the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Oh,
that,
your paper is
white
today
paper,
bigger than the government of the United
I
States of
I
America.
can't continue like that. The Bharatiya
And
Janata
that
Party
paper has
paper.
retracted that piece of information.
She can speak.
No,
She can have a
Akansha,
say.
the
No,
point is
you
he's
have,
quoting an article
Akansha, I
which
can't
is
complete
retracted.
like this.
Okay, Ashpreet, Charu, let him have
You're
at least.
outdated.
No,
That
I'm
news
sure I
article
will
has
give you
been
time.
Retracted,
Charu,
Akansha.
yes, let him make a point, and then I will give you time. I'm going to keep both of you in the same
making
window.
a fool of himself. I'm
Charu,
helping
hear me
him.
out. I'm going to keep both of you in the same window. I will give you time. The moment, Ashpreet, I will butt in to, in fact, tell you that your minute is over. Please go ahead, finish what you have to say, and then Charu would like to respond to that.
Well, the Bharatiya Janata Party is clearly nervous, interrupted me for the 5th time.
If you can make points instead of using adjectives.
What? I'm sorry, if adjectives are to be used, I will use them. But what's
We are running
better
short of time. Let's
I
go
think
ahead with the
using
discussion.
adjectives is-
Okay,
I think
Ashpreet, let's
using
go ahead.
One second, allow me to complete. This control should have been exercised on the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. I'd hope to see that in the future if it happens again.
No, I
Number
appreciate
two,
you didn't
allow me to
interrupt.
complete now. Allow me to complete, please. When it comes, they say now actions speak louder than words. The Bharatiya Janata Party has the power to issue a white paper. I challenge the BJP. Do you have the audacity to say that we will issue white paper on this? Let it be clear who's lying and who's not. And if the Bharatiya Janata Party is ready to accept the challenge, the BJP spokesperson may say that. And one more thing, we all know what happened by the Bharatiya Janata Party's Chief Minister, Mr. Fadnavis. He discussed opportunities on collaboration with USAID on November 10, 2022. Number two, Smriti Irani ji has been the USAID ambassador for 4 years, as per her own statements. Number three, RSS had the assistance of CIA during emergency, and the US showered a lot of praises on Jai Prakash Narayan ji when the role was being discussed.
If you are going to talk about CIA, then you know it has been discussed by Ambassador Monahan, who was the US ambassador to India in the year 2010. He has written in his novel that the CIA was backing Prime Minister Indira Gandhi when she was in power. So let's not.
Indira Gandhi government was being fought by Jai Prakash
Can
Narayan.
I come in now,
US was
Akansha?
showering
I allowed him to
All right.
speak.
US was
Ashpreet,
showering praises. My only question is,
he's
will the
speaking like a
BJP
kid
will
right
the
now.
BJP accept
Now
the
can I
challenge
come
for
in,
white
Akansha?
paper? Are
And
you
I
ready?
want
All
to
right,
speak
you
your
pose your
question.
question. This is the
Are you ready
second
to
time.
accept the
This
challenge
is
or
the
not?
second time, Ashpreet, you are raising the demand for a white paper. Heard you now. Let Charu speak. Yes, Charu.
No, I asked for them to accept
Now,
it.
Yes.
one,
Would you let
we
her
are the
speak?
ones who are saying that all the names of all the beneficiaries of this money needs to be made public. Why not?
What of
You're
electoral
working in a
bonds?
way which is against your
What of
very
electoral
country.
bonds?
Now,
Supreme
Ashpreet,
Court
don't.
declared it
Now,
unconstitutional,
Akansha,
no?
now listen.
Supreme Court declared it
Akansha, is
unconstitutional,
बच्चे को
no?
चुप कराइए. I don't
Ashpreet,
think he
please,
understands anything at all.
Who's
Ashpreet, you know,
who's
you actually are
not
not
answering
worthy
now?
of being on a
Ashpreet,
debate with
electoral
me
bonds.
because you
Practice
hector
what
like
you
a child.
preach. Ashpreet, practice what you
Unconstitutional.
preach. I'll have to mute
course,
the people
I
who
do.
interrupt on this
But,
discussion. We
but
need
one
to
should
have.
also, one should
We need
experience
to
the
have a
same
say.
thing that they were doing.
Yes,
So
okay,
my
Ashpreet,
question
I'm going
is,
to
Why
what of
don't
the
you
electoral
mute
bonds?
him and then I will
All right,
speak.
What of
please.
the electoral bonds?
I'll have to mute you. Why are we
can,
going
but
over
what
to
of the
electoral bonds right
You
now?
should have muted the BJP
Let's
spokesperson also.
then
You
Ashpreet,
should have- no, you
let's
should
go
have- you
point
should
by
have done the
point.
same with the
I
BJP
heard you out,
spokesperson also.
Ashpreet. Let's go point by point. Let's
Definitely.
I'm waiting to speak.
Please
But the
don't
next
heckle
time,
us
please
like
do that
this.
for the BJP spokesperson as well. What of the electoral bonds which were declared
If
unconstitutional?
she speaks
by the
up, I will
Supreme
have to
Court?
mute Charu also. But
And
she's not speaking over you right now.
She was a lot of times.
Now
Ashpreet,
can I
don't
speak,
be
please?
childish. Charu.
No, I
Not
was
being
just.
childish about this. You are being childish by being
Okay.
unfair.
Ashpreet, you know, Akansha, minutes of your debates have been lost to just this child protesting again and again and heckling. This cannot be allowed to go on a channel as reputed as yours. Teach him some manners or tell him to sit at home and not do all this. Now, let me put some facts in front of you. One, he mentioned Smriti Irani ji. She was a ambassador at the time when Sheila ji was the chief minister in Delhi. What are you trying to say? You're contradicting yourself. Point number two, the article that you are quoting today has been retracted by Indian Express. And you are actually wanting to hold an article of a newspaper above a official statement of the President of the United States of America and an official Department of United States of America, DOGE, which is written on its own Twitter handle, X handle, very clearly, $21 million for India for increasing voter turnout. And what an irony that is. India's voter turnout is higher than America's. India's spend on election is higher than America's. So where was this money given? It was not given given to India. This money was given to Indians who were working behind the scenes to either build up narratives, who were getting funded for applying these toolkit statements on various social media handles, which were a part of protests which broke out across India again and again. CAA protest happened, farmers protest happened. We had been complaining about foreign funding for those as well, right? So Arshpreet right now is understanding very less about the one big thing. The one big thing is that no amount of fake news is going to get you out of this. Second, you did not even apologize for the way Rahul Gandhi has openly said he's fighting against the state of India. You are trying to create anarchy by going abroad and saying Sikhs are not safe in India, turbans nahi pehen sakte. What kind of stupid fake news is that, and what kind of a person talks like that? And if you're going to sit in the Parliament of India, the least you can do is not say things like you're fighting against the state of India when you're abroad. That's the worst thing, and you're not even defending it.
Okay. Arshpreet, I think I'll give you a quick 30 seconds. I have other guests also patiently awaiting.
Number one, I strongly object to the words used by the BJP spokesperson. This shows what the BJP thinks, how the BJP talks, what the BJP has to offer. Number two, my only concern with the Bharatiya Janata Party is just because the report has been retracted, will the Bharatiya Janata Party go on to say that you will file a case against them for having lied to the people of India? Have you initiated any action against them? Has any complaint been filed? Has any FIR been filed? Number two, I asked you.
So what is your source? You don't have any source.
All right.
Look who's being the child now.
Arshpreet,
Who cannot listen.
Arshpreet and Charu, I'm running short of time. Right. I'll have to move over to Ayush and Avishkar, who are also, please appreciate their time. They have also carved out time. Avishkar, I think what's also important right now is to be able to trace the funding. Many are asking where is the funding going? If the CCEP website is defunct right now, what is the challenge in terms of how to track the funding and how to, substantiate the claims that are being made as far as the funding going to George Soros or all these NGOs that are being claimed are linked with the Congress party?
Yes, thanks Akanksha. Thank you for having me on the show. I've been patiently listening to both.
Yes, thank you for being so patient.
Yes. See, first we have to put it in context. What is this entire USAID? It's a haloed program of about 70-80 years. It's been going on. There is billions of dollars received by India in funding.
And you're looking at a timeline between 2001 and 2024.
2024, as I believe the figure is 2.9 billion from what I have read. I must put that caveat out. But when we look at funding and the final causal link between what that funding is used for, I would not agree with the BJP spokesperson when she says that funding is used for propaganda activities, because that causal link has not been established. Point number one. Point number two is that until the investigative agencies come out, and I believe the investigation is currently underway, and unless that investigation pinpoints that this NGO was using these people to use that funding of 21, today even that issue of 21 million is currently in doubt whether it was for India or Bangladesh. That's a separate issue. I'll leave the benefit of the doubt. It may be for India, assuming that funding is for voter turnout. Now, what does voter turnout have for speaking against the nation? That final causal link must be established, and for your viewers to understand, it is very important to establish that whether increasing voter turnout is an issue of speaking against the nation. That's the third issue. And the fourth issue is that this seems to be an internal fight between the incumbent US president and his predecessor, and what policies were there earlier. So it is natural for a new government to come and question what was done earlier.
All right.
So I want to emphasize that today, unless these things are, the white paper establishing where the money is gone, etc., is out there and the investigation is complete, it would be too early for us to establish.
Okay, point taken. I think that's a very valid point that has been made. Charu, I'll give you 30 seconds. I need to give Avishkar, Ayush, in fact, closing thoughts.
Yeah.
Will the BJP issue white paper?
The US president has said that this money this money has been used for
White
a regime
paper.
change. So the regime is the NDA government, Modi government, BJP government. Changing of this regime would essentially mean Rahul Gandhi and his cronies
No
taking
white
over.
paper.
So there a statement
White
very
paper
clearly has been made for a regime change, and that is self-explanatory. Akansha, I would urge you and your channel to please make sure you call adults on your shows.
All right.
Please
Ayush
don't call
Nambiar,
littling children.
Ayush
Worse than
Nambiar, let
teenagers.
me quickly have your closing thoughts. I think when an allegation as massive as this, that there was a memorandum of understanding which was signed in the year 2012 under the then CEC, and yes, Mr. S.Y. Qureshi has slammed those claims that have been made, but there has to be greater proof to back that no, there was no fiscal involvement with that MOU. Just by S.Y. Qureshi taking to X and posting a tweet over there, is that going to suffice? Because this also goes on to say that our own Election Commission of India was being tampered with, which in fact symbolizes the democracy of our own country.
I am so sorry, but this debate is making me very sad. It is making me see two political parties, their representatives, advocate, very wise people, not at all talking about the very soul of a nation, which is sovereignty. Here, it is not about whether the BJP was wrong, whether it was the Congress that was wrong, whether somebody has taken money. It is fact that any protest, any political rebellion, when it happens, there is major funding that comes across from all places. My concern is sovereignty of this country, the very election process that India, the people of this country trust, was manipulated by foreign funds. Whether it was to the Congress, whether it is to the BJP, that is for the investigative agencies to see. It is the white paper, it is all those other details that will be going through official route. That is to decide. My question is very simple. Is it another attempt to disturb the sovereign thought process of this country, where the opposition is further weakened, or the party which is already in power, the BJP or the NDA, are they to go ahead and get certain political points with the international affairs? I do not agree with sovereignty being disturbed. I condemn this. I am very unhappy.
Charu, I want to have your thoughts in fact as well, because everybody is questioning that if Elon Musk has talked about how Doge has cancelled the funding which was to be released, which is the $21 million amount, then what is the amount that is being referred to that has come to India so far?
Yeah, so when I was giving you these numbers at the beginning, Akansha, and I will repeat them again for our viewers' benefit. During the NDA regime, I'm talking about the last 10-11 years of Modi government, the government has received 1.5 million, but private NGOs, advocacy groups, etc. have received 2,579 million USD, which comes to over 22,000
I think you've answered,
rupees.
You've answered, and I'll have to leave it at that. Many thanks to you, Charu, and the gentleman for joining in.